Star Fox was released on March 26, 1993. It was developed by Argonaut Software. Argonaut Software had developed a prototype of the engine used in Star Fox on the NES, which was titled NES Glider. This was inspired by their earlier game, Star Glider. This engine was later ported to the SNES hardware before they presented it to Nintendo. When Nintendo took an interest in Argonaut's project, the team informed Nintendo that the engine would be limited unless they could make a custom chipset for the Super Nintendo. Hence, the Super FX chip was born. The main game designers were none other than Shigeru Miyamoto and Katsuya Iguchi, with Takuya Imamura taking up the character design role. There are many inspirations for Star Fox that Miyamoto has cited, including the X-Wings of Star Wars, and his walks through the Senbon Torii gates at the shrine 15 minutes from the Nintendo HQ. The game's box art and promo materials were heavily inspired by the British TV show Thunderbirds, hence the puppets. I remember these being shown in Nintendo Power magazine and getting hyped up for the game. My first experience with this game was at a Super Nintendo demo kiosk at a Target store. I was immediately blown away by it, as it was my first experience with a full 3D game on a home console. Only other 3D games I played back then were things like Stun Runner or Hard Drive-In in the arcade. So seeing this level of graphics on a home console was quite impressive. Sadly, I never owned Star Fox as a kid, but luckily my cousin had a Super Nintendo and this game, so I was able to beat it multiple times whenever I visited over the weekends. Now, let's discuss gameplay and story. The meat of the story is conveyed through the mission briefings and also from the back and forth dialogue between your wingmates.
Good luck.
Corneria is under attack by military forces from the planet Venom under the command of an evil monkey named Andross. General Pepper sends his best hotshot pilots to take him down, led by Fox McCloud. Star Fox is a rail shooter, so you can only move forward while shooting around the screen to take out any enemies in your way, while avoiding obstacles till you reach a boss at the end. The controls consist of buttons for laser, Nova Bomb, acceleration, and braking. It also makes good use of the Super Nintendo shoulder buttons, which were a new controller innovation at the time. They are used for tilting the ship left and right, or double tap them to perform a roll that lets you deflect lasers. I appreciated the fact the game allows you to play in multiple camera angles by hitting the select button. You can give your R-Wing double the firepower by picking up the Twin Blasters power-up. And if you get a second one, you get the Plasma Shot. You can also pick up things like invulnerability, shields, and extra Nova Bombs. Just be careful, take too much damage to the wing and it will break off, then you'll be back to a single laser.
Wing damage.
The cool thing about the Star Fox series has always been the multiple routes you can take through the game. In the first Star Fox game, the routes are basically the difficulty selection. This adds a ton of replay value to the game. There's even hidden levels to discover. This secret area is called Out of This Dimension.
Good luck.
And as you can see, it's a very strange place. Whoa, trippy. It's a nice touch how you can see the first Corneria stage in 3 different perspectives, depending on which route you selected. Plus, those giant robots, they're so much fun to shoot down. You also need to keep an eye out on your teammates. Occasionally they will be in trouble and in need of saving. If you don't destroy the enemy on their tail, they will be killed, and you won't be able to see their final dialogue during the ending. Then again, Slippy is a broke-ass, great value brand, Pepe-looking-ass coward with a head full of water, so he won't be missed. The stage variety is quite nice, each stage offering its own look, enemy sets, and some clever gimmicks, such as the Space Armada stage, where you fly straight into the capital ships and blow up the core. Return of the Jedi style. I also love the fact that this game has both ground missions and space battles. Since I enjoy flight combat games over land and in space, Star Fox gives you the best of both worlds in one package. I should touch upon the amazing boss designs in Star Fox. These foes are large, menacing, and cleverly designed. Each has its own distinct look and gimmick you must figure out to defeat them. Some of my favorites include the attack carrier, which you need to dismantle piece by piece. Dancing Insector, with its long legs you need to shoot repeatedly to trip him up. Monarch Dodora, you gotta watch out for the eggs that hatch and shoot the weak points on his tail and his twin heads. And of course the iconic final boss, Andross. Dodge the debris he spits, then shoot him in the eyes till his brain is exposed. You gotta love that demonic form he changes into on the hardest course. I could go on and on about all the great bosses and their cool attack patterns, but we don't have all day here, so let's move on. This game is also no joke on the higher difficulty routes. It'll definitely take you some practice to master it. Now onto graphics and sound. Having a game with full polygonal 3D graphics was cutting edge at the time of its release. It definitely impressed me. Looking at it now, it's a bit dated, but back then it was amazing to fly through a full 3D world and see enemies from all sides, even though they were constructed by very few polygons. Sadly, the frame rate is a bit rough nowadays. I guess back then we were able to ignore that because we were so enamored by the shiny new graphics. I guess some things never change. There are lots of nice details, like blowing up a spaceship to see the little lizard pilot flying out into space, or the way you can break individual parts off a boss one at a time. Knocking over these giant pillars on Corneria looked very cool. As well as the countless explosions and particle effects as you blast your enemies to smithereens. I should point out some of the enemy designs are pretty cute. I mean, look at these fat little missile-launching shuttles. Or these adorable space amphibians, which you almost feel bad for shooting. Almost. Now, let's discuss the music. One of the game's strongest suits. There are so many timeless classics here. Let me give you just a taste of a few. Starting with the rocking Corneria theme, which has inspired countless cover versions. I find myself headbanging to this every time I fire up the first stage. And how about the very heroic and inspiring sound of the map theme? Even the little ditty that plays when the attack carrier approaches overhead is quite charming and memorable.
Incoming enemy.
The sound is equally memorable. I'm actually shocked at how many sound samples and voice clips they were able to fit onto the cart.
Come in, Cornelia.
This is Corneria, Pepper speaking. Congratulations on a job well done.
Roger. I'm heading back to Corneria.
Although the main Star Fox team talks in gibberish, which is quite funny sounding actually. It seems like every enemy and weapon has its own unique and distinct sound. The entire soundscape of this game really draws you into the experience. They definitely made great use of the excellent Super Nintendo sound chip. So in conclusion, as you can guess, I absolutely love this game. I have lots of 30-year-old boomer nostalgia for it, and I would highly recommend anyone try the game. Although I wonder how many Zoomers could look past the simplistic polygon graphics, low frame rate, and clunky controls to see it for the masterpiece it is underneath the technical limitations of the time. If you can't, I guess you could stick with Star Fox 64 on 3DS. But for me, this game will always invoke strong feelings of nostalgia for my childhood every single time I switch on my Super Nintendo. Thanks for watching.